As promised, folks, this is the rest of this first chapter, study number one, on how to become a warrior of compassion and overcome all of the manipulation, all of the feelings of lack of self worth, all of the socialization that has happened to make us less powerful than we really are. We're going to pick up in the middle of the first study at a section called For Your Consideration. I will be calling it FYC in the future. So here we go. The following relates greatly to the philosophy behind the Warriors of Compassion Guild. Consider the information closely as you read it. If it is too academic, read the paper with a dictionary close by. If it is not academic enough, bear with us. The content is important enough to struggle with in order to master oneself and regain one's control over one's life in a society that is based so much on the written and spoken word. It is necessary to become adept at using both. As you read, consider the way that it is written, realizing that you will need to be able to write in the following style someday. Take notes on your thoughts and feelings about the subjects broached. Too often in our society, we read through quickly or we skim information. This is a chance to delve more deeply into what you have read and also your own feelings. Not anyone else's feelings, but your own feelings. There's a great struggle and much conflict in our daily lives when we make attempts to bring together spirit and matter in a contemporary Western paradigm. The same difficulties exist when we attempt to apply the beliefs of justice, equity, compassion, democracy, and love of neighbor, friend, and stranger to our lives and lifestyles for similar reasons. From the perspective of indigenous peoples and many mystics who develop mindsets similar to many indigenous cultures, these difficulties are often attributed directly to the Western concept of reality. Donna Marimba Richards expands on this concept of the Western worldview in her description of the differences in worldviews of European Americans, African Americans, and Africans. In this case, Richard gives us a working definition of worldviews. Richards writes, worldview refers to the way in which people make sense of their surroundings, make sense of life and of the universe. When we have difficulty making sense of life's circumstances and vicissitudes, we usually turn to religion. The term worldview is related to religion, but not necessarily in its institutionalized form. I go on, this concept of religion being associated with worldview is very interesting. There are covert sets of norms and standards of behavior in our society that are often lived out religiously. There are sets of foundational beliefs that underlie our society's concept of reality to the extent that they are usually accepted without question. One often only recognizes these covert sets of boundaries when one steps outside of them. Those who dare to challenge them, like many prophets and sages of the past, are often accused of attempting to destroy the identity or the very fabric of the society. One such idea that underlies the Western technological society is one of power, control, and destruction. Realities are split into pairs of opposing parts. Conventionally, one of these becomes valued, while its converse is understood as lacking value. One is good, the other is bad. It then becomes necessary, valued behavior, to attempt to destroy one, the bad, while the other ascends to supremacy. The human response to the universe, for instance, is separated into reason and emotion. Reason then becomes the valued aspect of humanity. That was written by Richards also. If reason becomes the valued aspect of humanity, it must be used to eliminate all that is placed in opposition to reason, such as emotion, intuition, and all the things that involved heightened emotion or altered states of awareness. This includes spirituality. As long as we in the West are trapped in the paradigm of dualism and the need to put down, to destroy everyone and everything that is not like us, we will never be able to bind ourselves back to the whole and live in the reality of the vastness of the cosmos, or live out our own higher ideals. Marimba writes the African worldview, and I add, and many indigenous people's worldview is characterized by unity, harmony, spirituality, and organic interrelationship. The European worldview is characterized by compartmentalization, isolation and separation, controlled power relationships, conflict, which is tension, materialism, and mechanical relationships. As a result, traditional African society is a microcosm of the natural cosmic environment in which people are actively and closely involved and with they identify, whereas Western society is an unnatural, technically efficient order set within an artificially materialized universe in which people experience pain and alienation, both from the mode in which they are forced to function, their institutions, and each other. This artificial system, in my words, must be dismantled if we are ever going to be reconnected with the rest of the cosmos. This can be done by recognizing the inadequacy of dualism and reclaiming our identities as part of the cosmos. This means recognizing that we are whole individuals who are spiritual, material, emotional, logical, rational, and creative, and recognizing that all these characteristics have equal value. It means acknowledging the fact that all of these characteristics, these opposites, exist together in reality instead of being separate, compartmentalized pieces. We are much more than we think we are as a society. At the same time, we are much less than we think we are as egos. We can further explain this assumption by looking more deeply at the building blocks of our society that support concepts of alienation and separation from ourselves, as well as the universe around us. One of the major building blocks is competition. During our younger years, competition is one of the main tools used to teach us about the need to win and to prove that we are worthy individuals. Early on, we learn that we can outdo someone else and that is a good thing. There are those who say that this country is based on competition and that healthy competition is good for everyone. There, however, are certain criteria for testing the health of the competition that exists in our society according to Horney, as extrapolated in a spirituality named compassion, and whether it is for building up the individual or creating aggressive dominator behavior in the individual. Horney writes, first, if measurement against others is a constant need and only one thing seems to matter, namely getting ahead of the other. Second, when ambition, even if repressed, drives one to be not only better than the other or others, but the best, the need to be unique and exceptional interferes then with the very ability to enjoy success. And third, when one declares verbally or non-verbally that no one but I shall be beautiful, capable, and successful. In this way, competition is aimed at destroying the other rather than creative construction of oneself. This fits well into the dualistic worldview that says one person, thing, or way of being has to be right and the other wrong. The one who is right must use his or her power over to utterly destroy the one who is wrong. This idea, like the dualistic worldview, permeates most of our major institutions, including the religious institutions of the West. According to all faiths and religions, the idea of climbing Jacob's ladder in the Christian church is a good example of how such attitudes are transmitted as ways of being that are divinely sanctioned. Competition is built into ladder climbing for one thing only. A few can be at the ladder top at the time. In fact, if too many crowd on the top, the entire edifice will fall. Especially is this the case so near the top. A ladder is very sensitive to being top heavy. The same can be said of a pyramid. A pyramid needs a wide base in order to support its top. As long as the majority of creation remains at the bottom of the pyramid as the base, and only a few remain at the top, the pyramid will not topple. As soon as too many people begin to move to the top, or as soon as all are considered equal, the pyramid will no longer exist. The most fearful at all levels of the pyramid will work diligently not to annul this. The interest of all who have bought into the hierarchical system of the pyramid is to either remain where one is or move closer to the top. In order for people to allow the pyramid to dissolve or to evolve into a circle, they must have a total transformation in their way of thinking. They must change their identity to one that is not created or supported by the pyramid. This takes a spiritual awakening and or remembering who and what they really are outside of the pyramid. A great hindrance to the necessary transformative process is the institutional religious structure. The structure that was originally set up to be prophetic and to support healthy growth and change has become part of the pyramid and has become so inundated with the competitive mindset that it is not fighting to hold on to its own position on the pyramid. That it is now fighting to hold on to its own position in the pyramid. It's no longer trying to transform the pyramid into a circle. There is no sense of compassion left in many religious institutions or in the pyramid. Compassion, one might say, works from a strength born of awareness of shared weakness and not from someone else's weakness, and from awareness of the mutuality in all. Thus, to put down another, as in pity, is to put down oneself. Pity works out of a subject-object relationship when what is primary is one's separateness from another. This pity is a result of sentimentalism. According to Matthew Fox, sentimentalism is what has replaced compassion in our religious institutions. Sentimentalism and piety are more aligned with the competitive nature that exists in our society than the ideas expressed by Jesus, the Hebrew scriptures, and many other scriptures used throughout the world in various religions and philosophies. True religious scripture speaks of compassion as mercy and or justice making, doing the deliverance that justice is all about. Sentimentalism was not always a central thing in the Christian church. It can be traced back to the Middle Ages. In the Middle Ages, a sentimental piety was developed that sidetracked the true meaning of compassion, and instead of celebrating and relieving one another's pain together, the people drew up a minute inventory of the torments afflicted on Christ. They enumerated the steps that he made on the Via Dolorosa, and the bruises of his body, and the drops of blood. One can explore how much of this masochistic and sentimental enemy of spirituality is still present in pieties and in hymns, in sermons, and in petrified language in Christian churches, Protestant and Catholic. That is written by Matthew Fox. This sentimentalism ultimately became the core of what it really meant to be a good Christian. It is completely understandable that we, as a nation that has Christianity as a majority religion and which was settled by Protestants and Catholics, are greatly influenced by pious sentimentalism instead of compassion or doing justice. Sentimentalism, according to Matthew Fox, is a rancid political consciousness that blocks authentic spiritual development. It actually interferes with the natural flow of energy outward that persons are born with. It is flight from politics and a flight from justice making. And so this sentimentalism is dwelling at the heart of our powerful religious system and is being poured out into the society at large by the institutions within that system. It's being presented as doctrine from the throne of the heavens. It is blocking the development of real compassion, the only thing that can heal our society and ourselves. It, along with competition between various churches and faiths, are impeding our ability to dismantle an unjust hierarchical system and to develop the trust in each other that we need. It is teaching us to sustain the hierarchy instead of transforming it by keeping those who are on the lower levels than we are, sedated by supplying their basic needs. It also teaches us to feel good for helping the unfortunate wretches who are beneath us on the ladder. It isn't teaching us, however, that we should be doing this, having mercy, but we should also be transforming the pyramid into something more equitable. Religious institutions are not the only institutions that stop us from entering into the fullness of the compassion that exists within each of us. Our educational system does also. Our educational system perpetuates competition throughout all educational levels. It upholds Western European rationalism as the only valid form through which to express wisdom and to learn. This teaches us detachment, separation, and how to hate without our conscious interfering. As Boltman and Miranda both point out, the word hatred in the Bible means a simple lack of compassion, an apathy, a coldness, an abstractness to the presence of neighbor, or an indifference to it. But the rationalist tradition in the West, and inculcated into our very patterns of thinking and action, including our theology and our institutions, is a deconstructionist approach to living. One might even say it is an educational system that educates us in hatred and how to be haters and cold-hearted or uncompassionate people. And so we move beyond this FYC, but take time to think about it. Take time to look at it and see what you agree with and what you don't agree with. It is not our desire to change your mind or to brainwash you and tell you what to think. Our desire is that you begin to think critically yourself and to understand these things yourself, so that when you become a great warrior of compassion, you can help other people. Now included in these lessons is something called a TME, or this month's exercises. We are going to give you exercises to do each month, to do for at least 21 days, if possible, before going to the next Word of Compassion lesson. This will give you enough time to work the mind and the body, as well as to go over the lessons as many times as you want to in order to pick up what is being said and to think about it, to engage your mind, body, and spirit. And so this 6-month exercises are as follows. Your exercise for this week is to think about what you have read. Really think about it. Allow it to soak into your subconscious. Meditate on some part of what you read each night, especially the parts that make you feel most uncomfortable or the ones that you agree with most. Each night, take a different section. Make 2 columns on a piece of paper and label one I believe and the other I do not believe. Look at an idea that touches you strongly and ask, why do I believe this or not believe this? Write down your answer. Continue to ask yourself the same question about the same idea over and over again, looking for a deeper, more profound message each time and probing more deeply. Why do I believe this? What will it mean to me if I do believe it? What will it mean if I don't? What will I have to change about my life? Do this with one section or an idea per night until you are getting the same answer and feeling comfortable with it. Write the answers down. Immediately afterwards, sit in a comfortable position in a chair or cross-legged on the floor and meditate. You may listen to some soothing music if you'd like. Begin by concentrating on your breath. Let your tongue rest on the top of your mouth. Breathe deeply through your nose, feeling the breath coming in and going all the way down to the spot 2 inches below your navel. Let your stomach muscles relax and expand. This may be difficult since much of our lives we have learned that we should hold our stomachs in, but you will get the hang of it. Imagine your breath as white light coming in, moving down, circling around the spot 2 inches below the navel. As you exhale, imagine that light moving up to the spot at the center of your forehead, circling that area and leaving the body carrying out any stress and tiredness. The spot 2 inches below the navel is known as the ki in Japanese, the dantian in Chinese. It is the place where we store chi or life energy. The spot between the eyebrows is known as the third eye. It is the energy center or chakra where intellect and creativity and imagination reside. You will strengthen these energies by doing this simple meditation each night for 15 minutes. Do the meditations right before you go to bed, and you'll have some very interesting dreams. I promise you. It may seem boring at first if you're not used to meditating, but eventually your mind and body will begin to look forward to the times of rest that come with a meditation practice. Do this for a month, or at the least 21 days. Next month, we will look at some more of the philosophy behind the WOCG, and we'll begin to look at the pyramid of identity formation, how we are made to support it, and how we are forced to trade our power with others and our power within ourselves in order to gain the support of those over us, and also to support the power over system used to disempower us and the majority of people. And so next month we will be adding another lesson. Please leave your comments as you would like. I'm going to try to set up a group here on Minds so that you can talk with each other and communicate with each other about how these things are going as we go on lesson after lesson. And you can also visit our website at www.nextstepcoaching.mysite.com www.nextstepcoaching.mysite.com to find out some of the other things that we are doing, and if you would like to get involved in them. We are especially having a GoFundMe campaign where we're raising money to help create various forms of meditation, a lot of online content, and to do energy work, massage, and to teach Qigong lessons at a reasonable, discounted price. Namaste, everyone.